Hello legends! In this short video we're going to be fitting the international beacon to the Doghouse, the top part of the Bell 222. The international beacon is a flashing red light. So let's get to it. Mounting the beacon light on the Doghouse here. Now there are lots of different ways that you could do this. I've decided to go on top of the Doghouse rather than coming from underneath. And there are lots of reasons why I would want to do that, and I'm sure they're cropping in your mind already. But the point is, I'm mounting on top rather than underneath. Essentially, I want this to be seen on top, yeah, and I think it'd be better for heat dissipation as well. So I've had to ground off and ground down with a Dremel the mounting position, purely and simply because with this on top of it and then the beacon cap, it was too high and this wouldn't sit flush. I've decided to go with this beacon cap of the Unilight series rather than the top hat, which is normally synonymous with a international beacon, purely and simply because I just didn't feel that it was scale, accurately scale for the top here. Now this will fit and it will look okay at the back of the fuselage, which we're mounting the other beacon light, but on top not so much. So I'm going to use the much wider beacon cap here. You'll also note down here that the 2-watt navigation light that we're mounting at the back, I've cut in half. We don't need all of this heatsink here. So this part, this beautiful machined piece of alloy here, which I've cleaned up, this is going to be used on the underside of the beacon, and it will double up as two different things. First of all, it will double up as a locator, and secondly, it will be a mini heatsink. Now look, I've had this on for 10 minutes throughout the program that I've got programmed for the Unilight series for this build, and it didn't even get warm. So to be perfectly frank with you, we don't even need to mount any form of heatsink whatsoever. Fitting it's going to be quite simple. You'll notice I've drilled 2 holes there, 1.5mm holes. This is now nice and flat and is a good firm base for me to either thick super glue or hot glue, very likely hot glue. And putting it in is very simple. The cables go through the holes like so, pushing it down, a little pull from underneath, and as we can see, it seats nicely and neatly and flat on that position there. And the beacon cap now very nicely sits on top, and we can secure that to the Doghouse. Previously, as I said, this would have been raised, and if I'd gone with the cap, which of course I'm going to go at the back of the helicopter, then this would have to be mounted on the underside, because otherwise we're going to have this PCB exposed on the outside, etc. But with using this bigger cap, it makes things a whole lot easier. A final quick note on the Unilight lights. As you know, I'm a big fan. There aren't any better, but be cautious because the caps which are mounted on the heat sinks and the caps that are mounted on the on all the lights, are not that well secured. You can see here, that this was some form of, a little bit of super glue. I don't even think it was super glue. Some form of glue or tape, double-sided tape by the looks of things. So my advice to you is to re-secure these caps which encapsulate the LED lighting inside, or indeed in the case of the navigation lights, the clear plastic teardrop that goes over the LED PCB. So just secure these back on so that you are comfortable they're not going to come off. Okay, that's the beacon and the beacon cover in place now, and the heatsink underneath, which you can see there, and the cables coming through. How am I going to connect the Doghouse to the rest of the cables and be able to take this Doghouse off? Well, I will simply use a connector for the Unilight there, so I can disconnect and connect the light. So that won't be an issue. A quick note before we finish this light on the types of glues available. Now look, you've got hot glue, and I could have used hot glue there. I decided not to use hot glue on the beacon underneath this cap and the cap, purely and simply because it's bloody messy. But hot glue, once it's in place, is not going to come, you know, it's not going to let go of anything. But I decided to go with super glues. Now, 3 different types of super glue: thin, medium, thick. Bottom line is this: the thicker it is, the stronger it is, the longer it takes to cure. You can quicken curing up by using sort of, you know, the whatever that is, cyanocrylite accelerator. It's a spray that you spray on. My advice is not to do that if you don't need to, and let it cure naturally. So I've gone with thick super glue, which is perfectly fine for the plate for the beacon, which of course is located via the heatsink anyway, the beacon cover, and yeah, there we go. Also, a quick note on some basic repairs. You can see here that I've got a crack on the doghouse here, here and here, some chips, and this is where the camera came out of the mount and hit the top of the doghouse. Don't panic about things like this, particularly on this model. You're going to have to cut out some aspects of this area here for the rotor head anyway. But the top tip is this: if you do damage your paintwork, then get a brush and some thin super glue and paint it on. And in the artist world, they call this consolidation, but it basically stops it from chipping any further or any paint coming off. So I've just consolidated here and here. Thank you, Repair Shop. Another quick tip for you before we close off this video is the use of super glue. Now look, super glue is quite clever. Not that it's a sentient being, but you know, if you pour super glue on a wooden surface like this, you know, it's not going to go off straight away. It's going to stay in a little puddle here. That doesn't matter whether it's thin, medium or thick. It's only actually going to go off when 2 surfaces come together. So using something like a zip tie, it is perfectly suited to be able to dip that in there and then put this onto the surface. In this case, I'm doing a circle because I put it on the beacon cap, and to apply this on the surface. The zip tie allows you that minute sort of accuracy without using the bottle and pouring it all over the place. And then once you've then put it on all the way around, then you can then take your time, align it, and then push it onto the surface, and you know, it will start to glue very quickly. But as I said, you know, the top tip is that super glue doesn't go off, you know, when you pour it in a puddle like this. It only goes off when you make 2 surfaces together. There you go, legends. Hope that was useful. A short, quick video on fitting the international beacon onto the doghouse. Now that's all done, all we've got to do now is wire it up and test it, and we'll see that as we progress in this particular series. But I'm content now. That's it. Job done. Join me in the next video where we'll then fit the navigation lights. We're going to have to do some cutting for that. Take care. Bye-bye.